Mark Twain, The Complete Life Story. Written by Brilliant Bio. Narrated by Rory Young. Chapter 1. Introduction. Few figures in American history embody the nation's voice, humor, and contradictions as completely as Mark Twain, born Samuel Langhorne Clemens on November 30th, 1835. He arrived in the world in the small town of Florida, Missouri, just as Halley's Comet streaked across the sky, a cosmic event he would later claim as his herald, and in one of the great coincidences of literary history, his exit sign 75 years later. Twain himself put it best, "I came in with Halley's Comet in 1835, and I expect to go out with it. It would be a great disappointment if I don't." He kept his own promise. When the comet returned in 1910, Mark Twain's light went out the next day. Twain's life was as vast and unpredictable as the Mississippi River that shaped his boyhood dreams. He grew up in Hannibal, Missouri, a bustling river town that would forever leave its imprint on American literature. From these muddy banks sprang Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, two mischievous boys whose adventures captured not only the innocence and rebellion of youth, but also the heartbeat of a divided nation. Twain's stories would one day be read around the world, but they were born from the laughter, mischief, and danger of a frontier childhood along America's greatest river. Before he was the country's most celebrated humorist, Twain was a wanderer chasing fortune and adventure. He apprenticed in a print shop, learning the rhythms of ink and type. He set type and wrote for his brother Orion's newspaper, honing the sharp, satirical voice that would later make him famous. He became a riverboat pilot on the Mississippi, a job that demanded precision, nerve, and an eye for danger. Those years on the river did more than pay the bills. They gave him the material for Life on the Mississippi and a lifelong fascination with the currents of human nature. The restless young Samuel Clemens soon followed the call of the American West. He tried his hand at silver mining in Nevada, failing spectacularly, and then turned to journalism for the Virginia City Territorial Enterprise, where his wit and mischief earned him both fame and trouble. In 1865, a simple humorous tale, The Celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County, catapulted him to national attention and began his transformation into Mark Twain, the pen name that would soon eclipse the man who wore it. From that point forward, Twain's life was a whirlwind of books, lectures, travel, and controversy. He became a globe-trotting celebrity, delivering comic lectures and charming audiences in America, Europe, and beyond. He dined with presidents, industrialists, and royalty, and his sharp wit spared few targets. Beneath the humor, however, lay a keen moral compass. Twain evolved from a patriotic supporter of expansion into a fierce critic of imperialism, denouncing atrocities in the Philippines and the Congo, and lending his voice to the American Anti-Imperialist League. His 1905 pamphlet, King Leopold's Soliloquy, seared the conscience of the Western world. But Twain's life was never as easy as his laughter made it seem. He earned fortunes and lost them, investing heavily in doomed inventions like the Page Compositor, a mechanical typesetter that promised to revolutionize printing but instead drained his wealth. Bankruptcy forced him into grueling lecture tours across the globe, but his charm and determination, along with the help of his friend Henry Huddleston Rogers of Standard Oil, allowed him to pay back his creditors in full, though the law said he didn't have to. As the decades passed, Twain's public image as America's greatest humorist masked a private life often touched by sorrow and reflection. He endured the loss of his beloved wife Olivia and 3 of his 4 children, tragedies that deepened the darker currents of his later writing. His essays and speeches, once purely playful, grew increasingly biting and philosophical, tackling themes of morality, hypocrisy, and the frailty of humankind. Ernest Hemingway would later say, "All modern American literature comes from one book by Mark Twain called Huckleberry Finn." Yet the man behind the masterpiece often saw life with a weary, critical eye. By the time of his death in 1910, Mark Twain had become more than an author. He was a living symbol of American humor, resilience, and contradiction, a man who would make a nation laugh
Sample complete. Ready to continue?